How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech. Now, about a year back, I reviewed the Aero 15X from Gigabyte, which was a thin and light notebook, but that had some really high-end components inside, and I have to say I really did enjoy my time with it. But now, recently in 2018, Intel released their new 8th generation mobile processors, which increased the amount of cores from 4 to 6, which is awesome for mobile notebooks. So of course, Gigabyte needed to upgrade their already awesome Aero 15X with one of these new 6-core i7 processors. But not only that, they also added a 144Hz display just to make it truly the ultimate mobile production and gaming system. Now, Gigabyte actually did lend me one of their new Aero 15Xs to take along with me to Computex 2018 to do all of my 4K video editing on, and it worked like a dream. Being so thin and light but still having all of the needed horsepower really made my life a lot easier. Now, even though I have already reviewed the previous Aero 15X, for this review, I'm still going to go over the entire design and the build of the new Aero, even though it's pretty much exactly the same, but it does have some small changes here and there. But with all of that being said, let's jump into today's review right after this. Do you live in South Africa and want to get the best deals on all the latest gaming products? Well, RebelTech is the best place to check out. They have a huge variety of peripherals, PC components, laptops, and just everything else you would need. So go check out rebeltech.co.za to get the products you are looking for at a low price. Now then, when first looking at the Aero 15X, you would not think that this little guy has a 6-core i7 8750H that boosts to over 3.1 GHz on average on all 6 cores. It also has 16 gigs of DDR4 memory running at 2666 that you can also take up to 32 gigs. It has a super fast 512 gig M.2 SSD, and then the cherry on top is that it has a GTX 1070 Max Q. Now, if you don't know what the Max Q means, that is what allows the Aero to only be 18.9 millimeters thick, which is crazy. NVIDIA's Max Q technology is where they take a normal full-fledged GTX 1070 chip and then just underclock it a bit to where the TDP is suitable for the cooling solution of the laptop. Now, this does mean that even though it is a normal GTX 1070, you're not going to get the exact same performance as the desktop's equivalent, even though it is pretty damn close. But honestly, that's completely fine for me, because if you just look how thin that thing is, I don't really mind losing that tiny bit of performance. But now, talking about the cooling of the Aero, it does keep all of the hardware in check without sacrificing too much on performance. When doing heavy CPU workloads like in coding and rendering, the CPU did range between 80 to 93 degrees, where it would start to thermal throttle when going over 90 degrees. But again, that's going on 6 cores running over 3 gigahertz, which is pretty damn good. As for gaming, temps was a bit better, with the CPU reaching a max of 85 degrees and around 80 degrees for the GPU on Mac settings in some AAA titles. Now, unfortunately, I could not really open up it to show the cooling system on the inside, but it does do a decent job when running the fans on max RPM. But of course, it is going to get a bit loud, but luckily not too much to really make you want to smother the thing. But here's just a quick sound test of how it actually compares to being idle and running on full fan speed. But now, taking a look at the design and build of the new Aero, you still get the same sleek black design with only the white Gigabyte logo on the back panel lighting up, which does keep it nice and clean. You also still get the cool carbon fiber pattern at the bottom, which adds a bit of contrast. You also still get the very sturdy build with no cheap plastic components. Everything just feels premium with the Aero. The only downside is that the materials used does attract fingerprints quite easily, so you might want to have a wipe with you just to clean it off every now and then. But when opening up the Aero, which by the way you can do with just a single finger, you are greeted with that beautiful near bezel-less display. Now with the previous model, you only had a 1080p at 60Hz and then a 4K at 60Hz option. But now with the new model, you still get the 4K at 60 FPS option, but you also get a 1080p at a very nice 144 Hz, which is awesome for gaming. The higher refresh rate really makes games just feel so much smoother and just enhance your gaming experience, and I enjoyed my time completely with that. But now getting back to the screen, you still get the 15.6-inch Full HD IPS display, which gives you beautiful colors and a wide viewing angle. You also get an anti-glare coating for when you're working outside or in front of a window to get rid of that glare. The display does have a bit of flex to it, but that's to be expected to keep it as light as possible. I mean, the thing only weighs about 2 kilograms, which is pretty crazy. But now with those bezels only being about a 5mm wide, you do get that near bezel-less display that really makes the display stand out even more. Gigabyte has also teamed up with X-Rite Pantone to calibrate the display to deliver a very good sRGB coverage, covering 99% of the sRGB color gamut, 78% of the Adobe RGB gamut, and then having a 1.35 delta E color accuracy. Now moving to the keyboard, from what I could tell, the new Aero 15X still has the exact same keyboard as the previous model, with that full-size keyboard that spans the entire width of the body. So for all the people who really want a numpad, the Aero 15X has you covered. Now as for keyboard flex, the Aero has a minimum to none at all, and you will have to press quite hard on the keyboard to really cause it to flex. Typing and gaming on the keyboard was good, with the switches not being too heavy, having a short travel distance, and then also not being too loud. But here's a quick sound test of the Aero 15X's switches. And then of course it still features that per key RGB backlighting that is controlled through Gigabyte's Fusion software, which has some pre-made effects, but you can also create your own one if you so choose. You're also able to assign custom macros, shortcuts, or launch apps to any one of those keys. As for the trackpad, you still get that a very nice, clean, medium-sized surface that delivers a smooth glide and control. The trackpad blends into the body seamlessly, but you can easily feel the rough texture of the body if you accidentally move over the trackpad. You still get the physical buttons at the bottom underneath the trackpad for the people who still like to have that clicky feel. But honestly, I just double tap or just tap single, and that's just completely fine for me. Moving to the I/O, on the left side you get a Gigabit Ethernet port, a single USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type A port, an HDMI 2.0 port, a mini display port 1.4, and a combo audio jack. On the right side, you get a Kensington lock, the DC power in, two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A ports, a Thunderbolt 3 Type C port, and then also a UHS 2 compatible SD card reader. As for the speakers, the Aero 15X delivers a very nice stereo surround, now with a Dolby Atmos instead of Dolby Digital Plus. Like I mentioned with the previous model, for gaming and watching videos, I didn't really have the need to plug in external speakers or use headphones because the surround sound was really nice. But unfortunately, the 2.2-watt speakers aren't extremely loud, and it does lack a bit of bass because there's no sub. But clarity was on point, and just for casual use it's going to be perfect enough. And if you do run the fan on a max speed, the music or the volume will overpower that fan noise. But now getting into the benchmarks, I was a bit surprised that the new model didn't really do that much better than the previous model in games. In some games it was a tiny bit faster, but in others it was a bit behind. The reason for this is because the new model only has a single 16 gig memory stick out of the box, whereas the previous model used two 8 gig sticks. And because it is a dual channel memory, you are losing some performance because of that. But then again, you can just add an additional memory stick and it's going to be completely sorted. As for non-gaming applications, this was where that 2 extra cores and 4 threads really came into play, with Cinebench almost having a 400 points increase and Geekbench also having a very nice increase in multi-core performance. And just in any other production standpoint, the new model is just going to outperform the previous model so much more. Especially I felt that in my 4K video editing. Now, as for a battery life, the Aero 15X has the exact same 94 watt hour battery as the previous version that delivered 15 hours and 18 minutes on casual use and 1.5 hours in gaming, which was good enough. As for the power adapter, it is 20 watts less than the previous model at 180 watts. That is nicely, again, features a 5 watt 2 amp USB charging port. So you don't have to take up a USB port on your laptop. You can just charge your phone or whatever through the laptop charger, which is again just an awesome feature. So now in the end, Gigabyte just took their already awesome notebook and just improved it to make it that much better. Finally, having 6 cores in a notebook truly means that you can have a mobile workstation that can easily just be dropped into your bag and carried around without feeling like you're going to the gym. Not only that, but gaming is going to be an awesome experience with that 144Hz display. No need to take your full gaming system with you wherever you go. All you need is the new Aero 15X. And truly, I have to say, I have used a bunch of laptops in the past working at a computer retail store, and this has to be one of my favorite laptops. Just everything you get in such a small and light package really makes it a jack of all trades. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just a massive thank you to Gigabyte for sending over the Aero 15X for this review and also letting me take it along with me to Computex 2018. They were a lifesaver helping me out there. And then also, if you guys want to get the new Aero 15X for yourself, you can check it out on RebelTech if you live in South Africa. They do currently have some really nice deals available, so definitely check them out. And if you live somewhere else, you can check out the Amazon link in the video description. But now that's pretty much it for this review. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, comment like always. And then I will check all of you guys next time. Cheers, guys.